The station Velen floated in silent orbit around a dying blue star. Its metal halls were old, patched many times, and filled with people who lived by secrets and deals. Traders, smugglers, mercenaries, and killers all passed through Velen because it was neutral ground. No flags, no laws, only credits and reputation. Lena Brooks walked through the lower market with slow steps. She wore simple clothes and carried a small data pad under her arm. Most people saw her as just another clerk. Few knew she sold information, and fewer knew how good she was at it. Today felt wrong. Normally, the lower market was loud. Voices argued over prices. Machines hummed. Deals were whispered in dark corners. But now, the noise felt thin. People talked less. Eyes moved more. Tension hung in the air like a warning. Lena stopped near a drink stall and pretended to check her pad. She watched a group of hired killers leave the station bar across the hall. These were not small-time thugs. They were professionals. Carl Mason walked first. Tall, heavy, build, calm eyes. He had worked for 3 crime rings and survived all of them. Behind him came Victor Hale, thin and sharp, known for planning attacks that never failed. The last was Dylan Ross, younger, but already feared for his speed and aim. They did not speak as they walked. Lena frowned. That alone was strange. Killers usually left a bar laughing, drunk, or counting credits. Not like this. She waited until they were gone, then entered the bar. The air smelled of oil and cheap alcohol. A few customers sat in silence. The bartender, a wide man named Frank, wiped the counter slowly. He looked up at Lena and shook his head. "Don't ask," he said. "I did not yet," Lena replied. Frank leaned closer. A contract came in. Big money. Very big. And? Lena asked. Nobody took it. Lena's hand paused on her pad. Nobody? Not one, Frank said. 3 groups refused. Even Carl. That made her heart beat faster. Who is the target? Frank hesitated. Then he said the word quietly. Humans. Lena stepped back slightly. Not from fear, but from surprise. Humans were not powerful in the common sense. They did not rule much space. Their ships were plain. Their tech was solid, but not advanced. Many species thought of them as stubborn and emotional. Yet contracts on humans almost always ended badly. Lena thanked Frank and left the bar. Her mind was already working. She moved toward a quieter corridor and opened old files on her pad. She searched for human-related contracts. There were not many public records, but she had access to things others did not. A pattern appeared. Raids that vanished. Fleets that never returned. Bounty hunters who quit their trade after one job. There were few battle reports. Few survivors. But the silence itself said enough. Lena remembered a story she once heard from a retired mercenary named Paul Weber. He had said humans did not scare easily, but when pushed, they changed. They did not fight to win money. They fought to end threats. Most species fought for gain. Humans fought for closure. She closed the files and looked around. People were watching each other now. The rumor had spread fast. Across the station, in a private room owned by a crime broker named Simon Clark, a meeting was taking place. Simon sat at a round table, fingers folded. Around him were leaders of 3 major criminal groups. Normally, such a meeting would be full of loud talk and power games. Today, it was quiet. Say it again, Simon said. A woman named Karen Holt spoke. She was calm, but her eyes showed worry. The contract is active. The pay is real. The client is unknown. A woman minus Imfer. Contract is 9. Then why refuse? Simon asked. Because everyone already knew the answer. A heavy man named Luke Garcia spoke next. The target is a human colony. Outer rim. Small. Civilian cover. That sounds easy, Simon said. Luke shook his head. Nothing with humans is easy. Karen leaned forward. We have records. Old ones. Humans respond. Fast. Not loud. Fast. Simon tapped the table. Humans have memory, Karen replied. And time. Silence followed. Finally, Simon waved his hand. The contract is withdrawn. No one argued. Back in the lower decks, Lena followed another lead. A young courier named Ben Taylor had been asking questions earlier. He was nervous, but curious. She found him near a cargo lift. Ben, she said. He jumped. Lena, hi. You heard about the contract, she said. He nodded. Everyone did. Who offered it? She asked. Ben looked around. I don't know, but someone paid a lot to keep it quiet. Did anyone accept? Lena asked. Ben hesitated. One. Her eyes narrowed. Who? Ethan Cole, Ben said. Newer. Confident. Lena felt a cold weight in her chest. Ethan Cole was skilled, but young. He believed stories were lies made by cowards. He trusted his own hands more than warnings. Where is he now? She asked. Left the station, Ben said. Heading for the rim. Lena turned away without another word. Ethan Cole sat in the cockpit of his ship, staring at the starfield. His crew checked systems behind him. He felt no doubt. Humans were flesh. Flesh could bleed. He had read reports. Most were vague. Nothing solid. Fear dressed as mystery. Target is a transport hub, his navigator said. Light defense. Good, Ethan replied. We move fast. Clean. No noise. He did not see the flaw. On a distant human world, a woman named Claire Watson stood on a platform overlooking a small spaceport. Cargo ships moved slowly. Workers laughed and argued. It looked peaceful. Claire checked her wrist screen. A signal blinked once, then vanished. She did not smile. She turned to a man beside her. Noah, log this. Noah Price nodded. External scan anomaly? Yes, Claire said. Someone is looking too hard. Noah's face became serious. Protocol? Silent, she replied. Noah tapped his screen. Systems shifted quietly. Defense networks woke up without lights or alarms. Far away, Ethan Cole's ship adjusted course. He felt confident. On Velen Station, Lena Brooks stood at a viewport and watched ships leave. She had done her part by observing, recording, and warning where she could. Still, she felt uneasy. She whispered to herself, "This will not end well." The galaxy had learned this lesson before. It always forgot. Humans did not need fear to protect them. They only needed someone foolish enough to try. Ethan Cole's ship moved through the outer rim of space. The stars were thin here, distant, and cold. He checked his instruments. Everything looked normal. Too normal. He liked normal. It meant no surprises. His crew prepared for the attack. There were 3 of them besides him. Rick, a pilot with fast hands. Jared, the weapons expert. And Mila, a technician who could hack almost anything. Ethan trusted them all, and they trusted him. At least, he thought they did. "We are approaching human space," Rick said. His voice was calm, but his hands tightened on the controls. "Good," Ethan replied. Mila frowned at the screens. "I am getting unusual readings. Energy spikes. Small ones. Almost invisible. Their ship is hiding something." "So what?" Ethan snapped. "All ships hide something." "This is different," Mila said. "It's deliberate. Defensive patterns. Like traps. Ethan waved his hand. We are professionals. We handle traps. We survive. He did not see the way Mila's eyes narrowed. She had doubts, and doubts in space were dangerous. The human cargo ship came into view. It looked ordinary, small, slow, no heavy weapons visible, just metal and lights. Easy pick, Ethan said. They will never see us coming. They already know, Mila muttered. Ethan ignored her. Ethan ordered Rick to position the ship behind an asteroid. It was a good hiding place. He checked his crew. They were ready. They trusted him. Let's move, he said. Suddenly, the cargo ship powered up shields in an instant. Red lights flashed along its hull. Tiny drones launched from hidden bays. The drones moved fast, silent, but precise. Ethan cursed. What the hell? They are ready, Mila said. I told you. The drones attacked first. Rick barely dodged one that shot past the cockpit. Jared fired weapons, but they seemed to have no effect. The human shields absorbed every shot. Ethan felt panic for the first time. Not fear, just the shock of something unexpected. Humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to panic. Then he saw them. A human man, Noah Price, in a small shuttle, approached their ship. He moved alone, without fear, without hesitation. He's coming for us? Rick said, disbelief in his voice. He's coming to stop us, Mila said. Noah's shuttle attached to Ethan's ship with magnetic clamps. Before anyone could react, the doors opened. He entered silently, without weapons drawn. Ethan raised his rifle. Stop him! Noah moved fast. He disarmed Jared with one precise strike. Rick tried to grab him, but Noah pushed him aside and returned to his own ship. Unharmed, Ethan realized something. Humans did not attack for pleasure. They did not fight to kill for glory. They moved with purpose. Every motion counted. We are trapped, Mila said. She tapped her screens. The ship systems were being locked down. Engines offline. Weapons offline. Every system controlled by the humans. Ethan felt rage and fear. How? How did they? They planned for this, Mila said quietly. They always plan. Then Claire Watson appeared on the communication screen. Her face was calm, almost smiling. Ethan Cole, she said. You made a mistake coming here. Leave now, and no one gets hurt. Continue, and you will lose everything. Ethan laughed nervously. We don't take orders from humans. Claire's eyes narrowed. You should. Before he could react, all the drones moved at once. They did not destroy. They restrained. The human ship had non-lethal systems, but fast and precise. Ethan's crew was trapped in force fields, unable to move, unable to fire. What do you want? Ethan shouted. To stop you from hurting innocents, Claire replied. That is all. Humans protect their own. If you continue, we end this peacefully or not. Ethan realized the truth too late. Humans were not just defending. They had calculated every move, every escape route, every possible weapon. His crew was alive, yes, but useless. He ordered retreat. Pull back. Rick tried, but the ship would not respond. The human controls had locked engines. The ship floated, helplessly. Claire continued calmly. You can leave, but we remember everything. Any attack again? We stop you completely. Ethan had no choice. He had underestimated humans. They were not strong in the usual sense. They were smarter, faster in thinking, faster in reaction, and relentless. His ship finally disengaged when Claire released the locks. Drones pulled back. The humans did not fire. They wanted a lesson, not death. Ethan and his crew returned to Velen Station in silence. No one spoke. The younger members trembled, but Ethan tried to hide it. Pride was gone. Confidence shattered. He met Lena Brooks in a quiet corner. She looked at him and said nothing. They fought us, Ethan finally said. Like they were prepared for everything. Lena nodded. Humans are not easy. You learned that. Others learned it before you. Ethan clenched his fists. They are just humans. Flesh and bone. They shouldn't be able to do this. That is exactly why no one takes contracts on them, Lena said. Not because they are strong, because they are relentless, careful, smart. They survive where others die. Ethan felt anger and fear. I will not forget this. Lena smiled faintly. Neither will the galaxy. Word spreads. Your story will warn others. At Velen Station, the underworld began whispering. Humans were not easy prey. Even professional killers were wary. Some contracts were canceled before delivery. Some were withdrawn quietly. Ethan and his crew recovered physically, but mentally they were changed. They could not lie to themselves. Humans were different. On the human cargo ship, Claire Watson and Noah Price debriefed quietly. They had not fired weapons, not destroyed anything. Yet, they had ended the threat. They think they can come back, Noah said. Let them think, Claire replied. They will learn eventually. Far away in space. Other humans monitored quietly. Humans were everywhere, and nowhere, at the same time. They were ready. They were alert. And Ethan Cole, once confident, now understood the truth. Humans did not fight to die. They did not panic. They ended threats. And anyone who underestimated them would regret it. Lena Brooks returned to her datapad. She recorded every detail. She knew the galaxy would need these lessons. The whispers began to spread. The underworld talked in fear. Contracts on humans were becoming impossible to fill. Stories of failures, near misses, and strange disappearances built a reputation faster than any bounty could pay. Humans had not declared war. Humans had not boasted. Humans had acted quietly, and that quiet was louder than any weapon. The galaxy had heard stories before, but the words now carried weight. Humans are dangerous, the whispers said. Even trained killers cannot touch them. Lena Brooks sat in her small office on Velen Station. Her datapad displayed reports from several space sectors. Each report told the same story. Human colonies had been approached by mercenaries, pirates, or bounty hunters. Every time, the humans survived. Sometimes, without a single casualty. Sometimes, the attackers vanished entirely. She typed notes slowly, her brow furrowed. She could feel the tension in the station. News spread fast here, faster than official communication. Even minor mistakes became rumors within hours. Humans were no longer just mysterious. They were feared. Ethan Cole returned to Velen with his crew. They were quiet now. Once they had boasted about skill, about bravery. Now they avoided eye contact, avoided conversation. Silence hung between them. We failed, Ethan admitted one evening in a dark corner of the station. His voice was low. I thought they were just humans. They were prepared. They knew our moves before we made them. Mila, still tense, nodded. It is not about power. It is about thinking ahead. Humans plan for everything. This, me. Thank you. 2. I will never underestimate them again, Ethan said, voice shaking. Even Carl Mason, who had left the station before the attack, sent a message to his old partners. He did not need details. The message was short. Humans are not to be approached. The news spread like fire. Mercenaries refused new jobs near human territory. Bounty hunters canceled contracts without explanation. Criminal leaders stopped sending teams. Humans were gaining a reputation no money could overcome. On a distant system, Maria King, a former mercenary, gathered a small group of her old allies. They sat around a flickering table in a private hangar. Humans are different, Maria said. She did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. Everyone listened. We do not fight them. We do not attack. We do not try. Anyone who does disappears. Her friends nodded, silently agreeing. They had heard the stories. Too many had been brave and gone missing. Luck did not survive in human space. Humans remembered every attack, every threat, every slight. Lena Brooks continued her work. She tracked shipments, attacks, and near misses. She compared reports. There was a pattern. Humans acted not just to defend, but to end threats completely. Attackers were not just stopped. Sometimes they returned, to find their supply lines gone, their allies captured, or their ships disabled. On a small human colony, Claire Watson watched the sky from her platform. Noah Price joined her, carrying a small tray of equipment. Reports from the outer rim, Noah said. Pirates tried again. They failed. Several ships disabled. No humans harmed. Civilians safe. Claire nodded. Good. Let the story spread. We do not need to fight everywhere. Humans survive because they plan, because they work together, and because they remember. Some will still try, Noah said. Then they will learn, Claire replied. As he did. Ethan Cole's story became a warning. Space stations, trade hubs, and even pirate dens repeated it. Humans were not just survivors. They were consequences. Back on Velen, Lena received a message from a source deep in the criminal underworld. It was short. Humans are not prey. She smiled faintly. The galaxy needed to understand this. Money was not worth death. Greed could not overcome caution. Humans were not to be attacked. In another part of space, Rick, Ethan's pilot, spoke quietly to his crew. I never want to go near human space again. They think differently. They are calm. They are fast. They are patient. Jared, the weapons expert, nodded. I thought we were prepared. We had the best ships, the best guns. They didn't even fire. And we still lost. Mila added, they fight only when needed. But when they do, they are unstoppable. It is not skill alone. It is timing, planning, and patience. The galaxy slowly changed its behavior. Criminals avoided human borders. Pirates left trade routes near human space. Even smugglers avoided colonies. Humans did not need to patrol every sector. Their reputation was enough. Lena noted one more detail in her pad. Humans did not need threats to survive. They did not strike first for gain. They waited, observed, and acted only when necessary. Ethan Cole became a cautionary tale. Crime syndicates posted his story. Anonymous warnings to all who thought humans were easy targets. On human colonies, civilians did their work quietly. They repaired ships, farmed, traded, and lived simple lives. No one celebrated victories. No one boasted. They simply survived, quietly and carefully. But the galaxy noticed. Whispers spread. Humans could defend themselves without armies, without heavy weapons, without fleets, and they remembered every attack, every slight. The underworld learned a new rule. Humans were consequences. Humans were not to be approached. Contracts targeting humans disappeared. Even the most ruthless mercenaries refused to act. Lena recorded the final note in her file. She typed slowly. Humans are not the strongest species. They are not the largest. They do not have the fastest ships, but they are the most careful, the most patient, and the most dangerous when threatened. Ethan Cole returned to a quiet corner of Velen Station. He stared at his hands, feeling the weight of failure. Pride was gone. Arrogance shattered. He had underestimated humans, and it had nearly cost him his crew. He understood now why others refused contracts. Humans were not weak. Humans were relentless. Claire Watson watched from her colony. Noah Price stood beside her. She did not smile. She did not boast. Humans did not need to. Their reputation was enough. The galaxy had learned this slowly, painfully, and in small whispers. Never attack humans, Lena wrote in her final note. Even trained killers will fail. Even the cleverest will be undone. Humans do not fight for money. They fight to end threats. And anyone who forgets this will regret it. The story spread across space like fire in dry grass. Underworld contacts, mercenary groups, pirates, and bounty hunters all repeated it. Humans were not targets. Humans were consequences. In quiet spaces, humans continued to live. They farmed, traded, repaired ships, and helped each other. Their daily lives were simple, but their presence changed the galaxy. Anyone who tried to harm them now faced an invisible wall. Even without firing weapons, humans had created fear that spread faster than guns or fleets. And Ethan Cole's failure was a warning to all. Humans could survive anything. Humans would act only when needed. Humans remembered. The underworld whispered in fear. Criminals canceled missions. Smugglers altered routes. Bounty hunters walked away from easy money. Humans had claimed a victory without a single battle. Lena leaned back in her chair and smiled faintly. Humans did not need glory. Humans did not need recognition. They only needed to live, quietly, carefully, and to defend themselves when threatened. And that was enough to make the galaxy respect them, fear them, and learn a rule that would never be forgotten. The galaxy had learned it slowly. Humans were consequences. No one would forget it. The galaxy had begun to change quietly. Human space was no longer a place to raid, attack, or exploit. Word spread that humans were not just survivors. They were consequences. Even the most daring bounty hunters and the most skilled mercenaries avoided human colonies. Lena Brooks worked in her office on Velen Station. She had spent years gathering stories, reports, and first-hand accounts. She had followed Ethan Cole's failure, the whispers from other failed attempts, and the quiet success of human defenses. She typed her final report, summarizing the lessons the galaxy needed to remember. Humans did not need massive armies. They did not need fleets to patrol every corner of space. They acted precisely, deliberately, and with patience. They remembered every threat, every attack, and every slight. And when humans acted, they were unstoppable. On a small human colony far from Velen, Claire Watson and Noah Price observed the horizon. Their planet was calm, peaceful, with workers tending farms and ships loading cargo for trade. Life was simple, everyday, and ordinary. Yet the galaxy knew that ordinary humans could defend themselves with extraordinary skill. Reports from the Rim, Noah said quietly. Pirates tried again. Several ships destroyed or disabled. They did not even leave a single civilian harmed. 8. Claire nodded. Good. Let them learn slowly. Humans survive because we are careful, because we plan, because we remember. Humans had no desire for war. They did not seek revenge. They only acted when threatened. Their actions were precise, without waste, without unnecessary destruction. Yet the galaxy learned to fear them more than fleets of warships. Ethan Cole sat alone in his quarters on Velen. He stared at his hands, remembering the attack. His pride had been shattered, his confidence broken. He understood now why even the most skilled mercenaries refused contracts on humans. It was not because humans were invincible. It was because they were relentless, patient, and smart. We underestimated them, he muttered. We thought humans were weak. We were wrong. Mila, his technician, came in silently. She did not speak at first. She knew he needed a moment. Finally, she said, "We will not go back. Never again. They plan. They remember. They survive. Humans are different." Rick, the pilot, nodded silently. "We cannot fight them. Not yet. Not ever. If we want to live." Across the galaxy, the same lesson repeated. Mercenaries canceled missions near human space. Bounty hunters withdrew offers. Criminal organizations avoided sending crews. Humans did not boast or threaten. They did not need to. Their reputation was enough. Lena finished her report. She recorded the final note. Humans are not the strongest species. They are not the fastest or the largest. But they are careful, patient, and relentless when threatened. The galaxy learned slowly. The galaxy learned through failure. Humans did not need to fight everywhere. Humans survived everywhere. On another human world, civilian life continued. Children played in the streets, farmers tended crops, and ships moved slowly through spaceports. The ordinary life of humans was the shield that protected them. They lived simply, but the galaxy had learned to respect their caution and skill. Even those who had tried to attack humans now warned others. Carl Mason, Victor Hale, Maria King, and many others spread the same story. Humans were not prey. Humans were consequences. The underworld whispered. The pirates avoided trade routes, and the bounty hunters learned that greed could not overcome caution. Humans did not need fame. They did not need power. They only needed to live carefully and act decisively when needed. Ethan Cole left Velen quietly, carrying the lessons with him. He did not speak of revenge. He only spoke of caution. He knew that if humans were ever provoked again, there would be no mercy. The galaxy had learned that humans were patient, and patience made them dangerous. On Claire Watson's planet, Noah Price checked systems quietly. The communications network, defense grids, and patrol drones all operated silently. No alarms, no unnecessary activity, but every potential threat was accounted for. Humans survived because they planned, because they watched, because they acted only when required. The galaxy slowly adjusted. Contracts involving humans disappeared. Even legends spread that some mercenaries vanished mysteriously after attempting attacks on human colonies. No bodies, no evidence, just stories that warned the reckless. Humans were careful, but when needed, they acted completely. Lena recorded another note in her file. Humans did not attack for gain. They attacked to end threats. Anyone foolish enough to challenge them learned this the hard way. Survival was not about strength. It was about caution, planning, and memory. Humans had mastered it. In quiet corners of space, humans continued daily life. Farmers, traders, engineers, soldiers, and civilians all lived together in simple harmony. Yet each person was part of a network that protected their world and their people. Humans did not boast, but they did not need to. The galaxy had already learned to respect them. Even pirates began telling their own warnings. Bounty hunters and mercenaries passed the stories quietly from one ship to another. Humans were not prey. Humans were consequences. Ethan Cole remembered his failure often. He remembered the precision, the calm, and the planning of humans. He knew that anyone who ignored the warnings would face the same outcome. Humans did not need to fight openly to win. Humans did not need armies or fleets everywhere. Humans survived because they acted smart, carefully, and decisively. Lena Brooks saved her final report and left it in the archive. She knew the galaxy would need it. Humans had changed the rules without ever raising weapons unnecessarily. They had protected themselves and their worlds. They had survived attacks without losing civilians. They had proven that caution, patience, and intelligence were stronger than brute force. In the quiet of human colonies, life continued. Ordinary, simple, peaceful life. Yet the galaxy respected it, feared it, and learned from it. Humans did not seek war. They only defended. Yet their defense created stories, legends, and rules. Even the most skilled hitmen refused them. Even the most ruthless mercenaries avoided their worlds. Humans were consequences. Humans were not to be attacked. And so the galaxy learned its final lesson. Humans survived because they acted wisely, remembered threats, and protected their own. They did not need to boast. They did not need to fight for glory. They only needed to live, plan, and act when required. Even the strongest ships, the cleverest crews, and the most daring mercenaries learned that lesson slowly, painfully, and completely. The galaxy would never forget it. Humans were consequences, and anyone foolish enough to challenge them would regret it. The quiet life of humans continued, unbroken. The galaxy changed around them, not by force, but by respect and fear. Humans survived. Humans thrived. Humans endured. And the story of Ethan Cole, of the failed attack, of the mercenaries who refused, became legend. It spread across stars and stations. It reminded all who listened that humans were not weak, not ordinary, and not easy prey. Humans were patient. Humans were careful. Humans were relentless when needed. Humans were consequences. The galaxy would remember. And humans would continue to live. Quietly, simply, and wisely. Watching the stars. Prepared for anything. Unstoppable when required. And always ready.